We'll make a start. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming back. Great to see you all. So I'm going to hand over to Mike Saunt from Astun Technology. He's going to tell us this is not a sales pitch.
Unless you want to buy something, but it's not really a sales pitch. So, did anyone come to my presentation yesterday? Okay, so you come back for a second round, have you? Some of the things are similar, but it's slightly different. Work slop, which is the term for gibberish that AI can throw at you. There'd be quite a bit of that today. All the images were generated by Gemini. There are no screenshots, I don't think, in this one. The text is the key thing to have a look out for. Just quick, brief overview. I started Astun Technology in 2005. You might see some work slop in here already with some of the text. Yep. Basically, these are sort of stages. You know, we were doing stuff with open source foundations. That was the main aim of it. We expanded that and got a bit more community engagement. We became a G-Cloud supplier. We do a lot of work with the public sector. The last 5 years or so, it's a lot more about preventing things like, or trying to prevent things like Jaguar Land Rover, M&S, security, cyber security, because we do stuff in the cloud. That's the thing that's really important nowadays, not just functionality. I don't know if people remember these old things. If you're old enough, you might remember beige machines. This one I like. This was AI's representation of how the world's changed. I haven't seen any drones inside yet, but there's some around. So in the early years of Astun, there was a lot of what's a TLA, for those who were here yesterday, fear, uncertainty and doubt. Everyone thought, well, not everyone, certain suppliers were saying things were built in a garage, you can't be supported by it, various different bits and pieces like that. Some of the text in here you can see there are issues with, but it was manipulative propaganda and trying to manufacture uncertainty. And this is, like I say, the early years. It was actually, FUD was formed by a guy who left Oracle. It's on Wikipedia. And that was where the term came from. He left Oracle, and then Oracle didn't like him setting up a business, so they introduced this term. So this is the problem I see quite often, is the OSGeo UK ecosystem lacks accessible, reliable commercial support, hindering its full potential. So we'll make that statement now and see what we can get to at the end. I'll make that statement now. So this is all to do with supporting customers. And what you get is, so there's some work slop in there. It took me a while to see that first, because it looks like loudest, but it's not quite. You get some customers who demand too much. You know, it's the whoever shouts loudest gets served first. People come along, they try and jump the queue. So you've got to put things in place to be able to protect your queue. It's amazing what these AI generative stuff can produce for you. So a quick poll, who's here representing a company? Most people. End users? You could be both. Supply and open source services? Yeah, so hopefully there's something for you all. Just by a bit of interaction, I'm not asking people to stand up and sit down today. So our approach to this, what we see as being the ecosystem thing that's hindering it, this is really the meaty part of the presentation, but we've come up with a model that we use internally of how proposition we try to give to clients. We've got some quite big clients like Aviva Insurance. We don't actually need to do much for them, but they're very happy that they've got a company they can go to and be supported when they need it. So we've got a few things like that. We do other things for other businesses, like there's a land management company we do stuff for, various things like that. So we've got a model that we've come up with. That's what I'm going to break down, is give you guys a bit of the collaborative stuff that you can understand if you want to look at doing this. Some of the pitfalls you may have come across. It took us a while to get something that works, and it's the iteration stuff. Some of the features of what we offer and the operational needs that are needed. There's one piece that I haven't put on here, but that's the last piece. It's a bit of food for thought for you all. So it's taken us 20 years to get where we are. and it's developed over the 20 years. We've been users, so people who saw my talk yesterday, heavily into GDAL and all of that sort of stuff. We've been sponsors, and we've also been suppliers over the 20 years. So we've got quite a lot of experience, and we're trying to get to this flexible commercial support model. That's taken into account, so I'm just going back briefly on, you can go into support, but then you get some clients who are very hard to satisfy, and you get clients who want things for free and all of these sort of things. Something that people at Astun don't enjoy, or they turn off when I say it, but it's so important. Businesses are built on processes. And the key thing here really is to make sure you've got a process that you're able to have rules of engagement with customers, and they understand they can't jump the queue because they're shouting the loudest and various things like that. So I've just even got myself confused with that spelling of proactive and prioritised support that Gemini generated. The other thing is that we've done a lot of stuff historically, and it was all about time. Somebody's bought time, and then when does that expire? That doesn't give you the value. The value is outcome based. The value of what I'm trying to propose here, it's all about the support coverage that people have, that they feel secure with what they're doing. They could go, people have talked about proprietary vendors, that's the big thing that proprietary vendors can offer. They're big, they've got a lot of clout and support that they've got there for it. So it's time is different to value, in my opinion. So we came up with the buildings insurance analogy to try and explain it. So I would think everyone here has got building insurance where they live. You don't like paying it, but you're reassured that you've got it. Now that's a subscription model that every year you've got to pay this amount, but you really want it if there's a fire or a flood, all the stuff that they were talking about from Address Cloud. If that stuff happens, that's when you really want it, that's the value. So it's trying to take that analogy and applying it to supporting open source to make people feel that they've got an insurer they can rely on. So what we've got is we've got 5 elements of what we provide. We've got proactive, reactive support. Something's going wrong, we can be there and we're available to be called. There's priority support. Oh my God, something's gone wrong. You've got to be there, you've got to be ready. We've got call-off support. We've got some tailored packages that we do. And there's onboarding and discovery, which is when you've got clients that you don't know, they want some support. So with Aviva, we don't know, but you've got to understand what they're doing. So I'll try and go through each of these elements. So proactive or reactive, see, there's another TLA, I can't get away from them. The vulnerabilities that come along. So if you use Java-based software, you get a lot of vulnerabilities that come along because there's lots of libraries that it's very popular, so vulnerabilities become aware very quickly because people are trying to hack into it and do all of that sort of stuff, or understand that there are problems. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying there are. There's general housekeeping that you want to be doing. You want to also be keeping things up to date for things like cyber essentials and security frameworks that you meet, or your customers need to meet. We have call-off support, which is where there's more for planned works that you've got. So I know that I'm going to want to do this and I don't want to get it in, it doesn't need to be reactive tomorrow. I want to plan this in a couple of weeks for you to go ahead and do this. It's non-emergency sort of stuff, but it's backed by an SLA. This could be expert advice, training, a bit of mentoring. I've got this problem, how can we do this, X, Y, and Z. Priority support I've sort of mentioned. I think that one's pretty simple to understand. Something's gone wrong, you've got to get us up and running again quickly. And you've got to have the resources to be available to react to that. What I fondly call the Savile Row, these are your tailored solutions. And this is really, pretty much all customers are different. So you need to be able to have something that's adaptable, there's a model that you can make it custom per customer. So we don't just say, oh, it's 10 grand a year or 5 grand or 2 grand. It's actually you're pretty complex, and what's the value that you need? No two customers are ever the same. So the fifth piece of the puzzle, which is actually the first when you look at it, if you don't know the customer, you want to do some onboarding and discovery to understand what they've got. Can you actually support it? So we're very much, if we can't support something, we'll tell the customer, but we might know somebody else who could help them. That's part of the collaboration that's being talked about, all of those sort of things. So we've got a lovely little spreadsheet in the office, and some of the things that we put into there to come up with the price is how many users are using the system, How big is the organisation? That's where you're trying to work out what the value is to them. Is it mission critical or not? Because some customers just want to know that you'll get them back up and running at some stage. But if it's something that's in the middle of an insurance application, then you've got to be able to get that happening. So there's a value that's applied to that. And how many systems, which might be open source solutions, what makes up the system that you're trying to support and for them? So we've got this calculator that we use. And then we've got to, because we're about 20, 22 people, you've got to look at what your staffing is to be able to provide that support if you need to be reactive. So you've got to have the skill sets that if people are going on holiday, if there's sickness cover, have you got a third person to make sure that you're always covered, that you can react. A lot of what we do is we have to take this all into account when people are applying for holidays to make sure we've got the cover. If you're a bigger organisation, it is easier, but you still got to have the right people available. And then the experience that we've learned over the years, we've got a knowledge base internally, and we get stuff from individuals, from the colleagues, everyone works together, and also the community. You go out searching, or you might know someone. I've only got one person asleep at the moment, but I won't mention Jeremy's name. He's just dozed off over there, but that's okay. We've also got a support desk. It's online 24/7. They can log things within there. And that's where we get the reaction time. So we can get in contact, find out what is actually the problem. If it's an external company like Aviva, we're not allowed to log into their systems, but we can shadow and tell them where to look and go and look at stuff like that. And the whole SLA management comes in there, so your service level agreement with your customers. So there's quite a lot involved in trying to set something up that you can provide all of these services, and it's trying to get the value that the customers get from it. So my question to you, so many people that are in here, is there a cooperative approach? So as an example, let's say someone's mentioned felt today. If you needed support felt, I don't even really know what felt is. Is there somebody where I could go to and say, actually, can you help us in providing support for this that could fit into the model? Is there a community approach? There's collaboration's been talked about before. So this could be something, and this isn't for me to say, there's all these things to consider. Could it be an agency style thing? Yep. Could that cover the operational, the marketing, the collective value, to build the collective value to help the ecosystem as a whole? Could the co-op then become a sponsor of OSGO? That's a bit of a turnaround, just thoughts I've got. Wouldn't that be quite cool that actually there's a cooperative that's like an agency that actually can support things like bids for the international conference or something like that. So there's various things like that. So it's really, these are just questions. There is an example of this called Q Cooperative, if I pronounced that correctly. They do GIS development, they do qualified support, web services and training and what have you. I can't vouch for them. It's just one that I found online. They do spatial analysis, point cloud processing, quality assurance, but this sort of thing has been looked at before. The biggest thing we've really got in the UK, I guess, is when you go to the OSGO website, or the OSGO website, it does list a couple of organisations. You're actually on there as well, Ian. You need to get a logo up there, mate, or a photo, just so that people can see you. So there's, would there be any interest from people who are here? I'm not saying that I want to take this on, but it's just really for you guys to consider, is this something that you would want to offer? And if it is, why don't you start talking with each other? There might be companies that would like to do bits and pieces of it, but not do all of it. If you work on your own, but you want to be able to maybe get some extra revenue, providing support because you enjoy it, there could be some value that you can provide and you can make some money from it as well. I don't know. That's all. It was a quick one, this one. I doubt there are any questions. There was a hesitant clap.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah. So maybe there are questions, maybe there aren't, maybe there are thoughts.
Oh, there's one. That's good. There's always one.
I like the idea of the co-op, Mike, but how would you think about sort of standard? One of the questions you've had is that the OS solution is, the FOSS solution is very customised, very tailored often to customer requirements. Is there an opportunity, and someone said to me last night over drinks that often the problem is libraries get deprecated, version control isn't managed. Should there be almost like, if this co-op existed, a policy of our long-term support bundle is this stuff, and we kind of standardise a little bit to provide more of that clarity?
I would say, so we provide QGIS support for customers who have it, and that's only on LTRs. We won't supply it on the plugins that go in, but we will support the customer, but we can't. It's a difficult one. I think the versioning, I would think you'd need some sort of control on that, because there's things you've got to learn. You've got these vulnerabilities that become available. Part of what we've got with one of our customers, they've got a contract and all of that sort of stuff, and they said, why do we have to keep paying when these vulnerabilities come along? I said, well, if you go back to the contract, which is only about 4 or 5 pages long, in the first paragraph it says if there's any security updates, you need to pay for those, for the work for that to be done. Because they sit on the stuff we do in AWS, we've got to be Cyber Essentials Plus, which is a security governance thing. So it's not that they've got a choice. So it's difficult because people don't like to pay money. But if you can get it into the agreement that you've got, the value they're actually getting from what we support is quite vast. It's the value thing, but people don't like paying out cash. And that's where you've got to try and get the...
Is that a big takeaway today, Mike?
Well, it's the big takeaway I'd like to say is it's trying to provide value as opposed to just the monetary or time. Where I said time isn't equal to value. You know, time's a commodity. So I don't know if that's me just rambling on. I had a coffee before, but...
Cool. Yes.
Oh my, two questions.
You talked about making sure that you don't just serve the customers who shout the loudest. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
From experience, you've got some customers who, it's urgent for them, and you've got to explain to them, well, if you want that, we do provide that as part of a service, it's priority support. We will drop things or reschedule things to provide that service, and it's all about the operational side of things. But there's a value to that, and value comes with cost. So it's people understanding that if they want that priority, it's going to impact us. We might have stuff that's scheduled 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance. If we've got to drop things, we can probably, it doesn't happen that often, to be honest, but it's the value that's there. But people do shout. I remember when I first started, the previous company I was in over 25 years ago, that was, I met a customer one time who, he just wanted something for free. He was one of those characters who wants something for free. So the rest of it didn't really matter, but he got the small thing that we gave for free, and that was fine. So it's a similar thing. You get different characters, and that's part of what it is. I don't know if that answers the question, but
you get customers that believe every ticket is a P1.
You do, and for them it's a P1.
Yeah.
But when you talk to them, it's not actually a P1, it's a P3. It can be scheduled into your call-off support, and we can do it in a week or two. And I guess the answer really is you've got to be able to interact with your customers, that you know that they're going to shout the most. I've had customers that I've had meetings with and then things saying, we don't really want to work with you. And then they've come back a day or two later and said, actually, yeah, we will agree to what you're saying, it's okay. Because they want to win something, and I don't want our team to have these customers who are pain behind. Not just loud, they're just a pain in the behind. So.
This regarding with the co-op sounds a lot like communism, but isn't there also a lot of overhead involved?
With what, sorry?
Overhead in organizing the co-op, like organizational overhead.
I don't know. It was just a thought. I mean, it could be, you could have somebody, and I'm not proposing this. All I'm trying to outline is what we've put in place. You could say, well, actually, we don't want to provide priority support, but we do want to provide a cooperative that I've got a solution that's got QGIS, PostGIS, and it's got a GeoServer web map coming out of it. So you might say, well, actually, Ian's here. He's a GeoServer Java developer. We want his support here, but we know that he's not going to be available every day of the year. So we can't do priority support, but we can do call-off. If you need your vulnerabilities fixing, we've got a guy here. Then you need not you need. But the aim of the idea of the co-op would be that there'd be somebody who could help organise that. You know, I'm trying to think of other people I know here. If you needed some geolytics data, you could pull them in or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of things. But it's sorry. Yes.
Question over there first.
Cheers, Mike. So I support a lot of QGIS users, ecologists, with their workflows, and this thing of time versus value pricing is really. I'm a freelance, so it's like I always end up falling back into like time pricing, and I'm like I find it really hard to value price, and so I'm interested to hear what you got to say about that. And as a freelancer, we were actually speaking at lunch. So the idea of a co-op for a freelancer to improve the security of our workflows and like the pipeline, so I can like, you know, that would be valuable. So if there's like, ways to like draw people in with specialist skills in an area, I think that definitely sounds interesting. But
so for you, are you using QGIS?
I do.
So you're an end user, or do you provide services, and you provide services around it? So for you, I'm guessing, without knowing who you are or all of those sort of details, you know, it'd be good to have a cult that you could rely on as well, and it would give security back to the customer, and then you could potentially put a subscription model on and say, well, if you want to work with me, there's a retainer each month of 100 quid, whatever the number is, could be 2 grand, I don't know, 50 grand. But the point being, there's a value, and because you're able to then provide additional services. Now, the value you're getting is helping your pricing, and you need to reciprocate that back down to the co-op for doing that. Does that make sense? So,
It's weird because it's probably like a load of different values depending on the client and depending on the urgency of their situation and how like critical it is or whatever.
So
it's like a really like getting away from time-based pricing and into value-based pricing is a really interesting one. And so is the co-op idea.
I hope the aim of this wasn't about trying to sell anyone anything. It's about trying to get people to think about actually. So is this something that you would be like, well, actually, I can imagine that could be good. But for you, your time is, the value of the time is when you do it, I guess. So if somebody says, I want it tomorrow, yeah, you can, but my rate for tomorrow is twice the price. If you fit into my schedule, you can get it at the normal rate, which is actually 1.5 times your normal rate, but you know where I'm coming from. However you want to look at it, but that's how you try and get value into time. It's very tricky, and it's taken us a long time to get where we are. And it's not perfect, but you keep iterating over it. That spreadsheet has a few changes every now and then to accommodate different things.
Cool, thank you.
Hello.
I have more of a general question, because I was thinking you have a relatively small team, right? That supports like clients that are like gigantic, some of them. And you also mentioned that some of them are locked down and whatnot. So how is it like dealing with like different scale of clients, and like how do you do it with just a team? I imagine some companies are very like hand-offy and some are very like, please get online now.
Yeah. So it comes down to the value thing again. I mean, the good thing about working with really big businesses, money's not the object generally. They want to be supported. If somebody's been using the FLA that everyone knows, starts with E, is Esri, but they don't give stuff enough. They make their money from the license fees. So you've got to look at what you can do. If you're working with somebody like Aviva, because I can say them because they're not very well known in the GI industry, they are known, but the amount they pay is minuscule to what they do. They just want to know they're supported if they need to know about something. We do some work with another organisation where we just send them a 6 monthly report on the state of some software they use. It's just a 2-page report. This is the current LTR, this is this is that. It means they don't have to be scouring over the internet all the time, and somebody has that on their agenda. They've just got to look at, are there any flags here that we've got to look out for? So there's lots of different ways. Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm answering the question, but different companies have different requirements, and that's where the value piece goes into the model. it takes time to work out the model.
No, I was just wondering because you were saying you offer like many levels of supports, like parity and
Reactive. Yeah.
reactive, proactive. I was just wondering like whether there's like government clients are like more proactive, so which types are more reactive, or is this too general?
It's each customer is tailored for this type of support. That's why you have to have a model with it. And it comes that you need the resource to be able to support them how you say you're going to. And then it comes down to, are they willing to pay the amount that you're saying it's going to cost? Because that's the key thing. It's not going for the cheapest. You know, it's a case of what is the real value they've got. Not everyone does what we do, so we're in a bit of a unique situation. But I'm saying to everyone here, are there opportunities for others to do things? It doesn't have to be via Astun. I'm not putting Astun forward to do it, unless you want us to. I'm just joking. But it's a case of, you know, it's trying to get that proposition out there, because it's not. I've had experience where things even within the open source ecosystem, there's fighting between different businesses. It's more this collaborative approach, you know, of there's a bigger picture out there. I mean, Alex touched on stuff about how big the market is. You know, do you want to be fighting the same? I've heard of companies that forked things, not re-released it out to others, and then it's in what I classify as infighting within the community. There's a real thing for having two different types of software that do two different things. But when somebody forks something just to make extra business, that's, to me, isn't good. I'm jabbering now.
Cool. Any other questions? Anything people want to mention? No?
That's great.
Cool. Great. Thank you very much.